and welcome back to the Amped EV podcast. My name is David Sickles. I am the editor for The Buzz, and this would be Jason Morgan, the content director for Fleet Equipment. However, he has temporarily abandoned ship. Only temporary. He was invited out recently by our friends at Volvo to experience a ride-along in their Volvo VNR electric truck in Greensboro, North Carolina, and to learn a little bit about the next generation of that electric truck. I'm really excited about this. He's got a lot of fun details to share about it. One thing I did want to mention to you audio listeners of this podcast, we love you, we appreciate you very much. But for this one, you might want to turn off the audio version and head on over to either our website or YouTube, wherever you can find the video version of this podcast. I think you're going to have a much better time here. Let's check out the footage.
Hey, David. I am with Volvo Trucks. We got the VNR electric behind us. We always hear about how driving an electric vehicle is a different experience. Well, we are going to put that to the test. We have the VNR electric behind us. We are going to hop in and take a drive here in Greensboro, North Carolina at the Volvo headquarters. We're going to hit the road. We're going to check out the acceleration and all the features. So come along and let's see what it's all about.
All right, so this is the VNR electric truck that we have. So when you start the truck, it's very different from diesel, right? You're going to start and there's no starter and stuff, so you don't even know it started. How do you know? There's no sound.
It's on now.
It's on now, but
okay.
How do you know that? Because there's a green indicator truck that showed up. So it says you're ready to go.
Okay.
There's no sound. It's really quiet, right?
Awesome.
And that shows you're in neutral. So you got to hit reverse or drive, just like you do on your diesel truck.
Yep.
Right, so it's got a 2-speed transmission here. And as you can see, the whole display is different. I mean, this is showing if it's going to be regenerating power or if it's using power. So,
yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you still have your primary and secondary brake gauges. You still have your speedometer, and it shows your state of charge, whether it's full, empty. You don't want to be empty, okay? It's very bad. So, well, Volvo safety, always put your seatbelt.
Yep, always.
Special lime green seat belt for Volvo electric. All right, so you ready to go?
Yes.
All right.
And I do love the cars, but I'm going to turn this off.
Yes.
The radio works too.
That's right.
We'll get hit with copyright. I mean, that's the problem.
All right. So as you can see, you got a camera, hit backup camera.
Oh yeah, okay. So you're turning on the air conditioner now. Is there ever any concern is this going to drain my battery with the air conditioner on now? Or
No, we're good.
Negligible?
I mean, yeah, it does use battery, but it's got a nice battery management system that manages all of that. So.
Nice.
So we went with the VNR model because the electric model is specific for regional haul.
Yep.
So it's got the shorter wheelbase.
Yep.
And BBC. So yeah.
In this are we at a class 7 in this configuration? We got the van
yes,
body
yes, correct. And this is a 4x2.
Okay.
So they can be used for class 8 as well. And it's got all the safety features. Still got the Volvo Active Driver Assist. Got the front-facing camera and radar. So it's still got collision mitigation, lane departure warning.
Yeah, I mean, it's wonderfully quiet. I mean, we're going up a grade here.
I'm at 40 miles per hour now.
40 miles already.
You don't even feel it. You don't hear any sound. Yeah. And I got my regen braking stock here, so I can crank up the intensity. I can put it in automatic mode, which is the best mode for regen. So every time I let go of the accelerator, it's using regenerative braking. So the electric motor kind of reverses polarity and acts like a generator and puts electricity back into the battery. So.
Yeah, and the few times that I've gotten to drive some electric trucks, that takes a little bit of getting used to. I always end up like a car's length away from where I want to be, just because it takes a minute to get used to the regenerative braking.
Yeah.
But very, very beneficial for recapturing some of that energy.
Oh yeah, you can add like 15% to the overall range if driven properly. So.
Right. Well, and that's what I've talked with Brett Pope before about just how much the driver can impact him. Yeah, it takes a lot of, he's, if I recall correctly, talked about, the efficiency curves and how it takes a little bit. You can see drivers getting used to it, and it gets better and better, but it is just a ton of fun.
It really
acceleration
is. Oh yeah, it's instant torque. It's got like 40, 50 foot-pounds of torque.
Yeah.
And that's like 455 horsepower worth in diesel terms,
Yeah. What's the battery size on this one, do you know?
This has got 4 batteries, so each battery is 66 kilowatt.
Okay.
But we have a newer version which has got 6 batteries.
Yep.
And that comes up to almost 560 kilowatt.
Right. We walked through that with Andy and team. See, that was very cool.
So that can give you a range of up to 275 miles. This particular one can go up to 150 miles.
Yeah.
Oh, there goes a lane departure.
Yeah, that's all right. Pedestrian. The one, I like just letting it sit and being quiet for me, because the VNR does a nice job. You don't have any rattles. You know what I mean? You can,
exactly. You would think if it's quiet, you'll hear all the other vibrations and stuff, but you're not even hearing anything.
Right?
Yeah. And that's the special thing about Volvo. The ride quality is really smooth, quiet. It is kind of funny when some of these trucks are passing us that the trucks outside are louder than the one we're sitting. I hear them, and there's nothing to be heard here. Because of the rear axle ratio, it's maxing out at 55 miles per hour, but you have the liberty to change the rear axle ratio to go faster.
Yeah.
Notice now the needle's pointing to the right, showing that I'm using power, but when I do regenerative braking, it would move towards the plus sign, that gauge there.
Okay.
That's the indicator of regenerative braking versus using power.
Nice. And what state of charge are we at?
Now we're at 90% state of charge.
Okay. Well, okay, so we've
that's shown right there. You got a few.
I see.
now it's regenerated. Right? Now that the cage moved towards the plus sign, it's showing that it's regenerative braking going on right now. So, and I can increase that to 3. So I've increased the intensity. I'm not even using my service brakes now. You see, it's full regenerative braking.
Oh yeah, okay. And you just and you just took your foot off the accelerator.
Completely. So it's regenerative braking. Now I'm pressing the accelerator again, but I can try it again. I'll show you. I let go of the accelerator. It's regen. I can increase the intensity by going to 3. Now it's full regen. So I'm not using the service brakes, which basically prolongs the life of the service brakes, right? Because you don't use it as much. So.
Right. Similar to the engine brake on the diesel.
Exactly.
Too, so you can use it in that regard.
Same concept, yeah. But this one's even more intense. So once you get used to driving with this, then you'll start getting the hang of it.
Right. Well, and would it bring you down to a full stop?
Yeah, it's bringing it down to a complete stop right now. There, this is regen, not pressing the brakes at all, and it's stopped.
And you hadn't touched the service brakes at all?
No.
Oh wow. Okay. That's cool. Well, and that's different in some of the other vehicles that I've been in. Some of them don't go down to a full 0. There's some operational nuance there that the drivers would want to be aware of too.
It depends on the situation as well, right? Yeah, right.
For sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, just, those as more come to the market, you get to. There are differences, That's one of the other things where you might think of like, okay, well, it's batteries and an electric axle configuration, so how much difference can it be? But there's a good, a good amount of variability on how you integrate these systems into your trucks and how they perform. And
you want to go another round, though?
Yeah.
Let's go. All right.
Wow. Okay, Jason. Before we get to anything, how did you get back here so fast?
Oh yeah, well I was so amped.
Yeah, of course you were.
From the ride along there that I just ran the entire way. Yeah,
Excellent.
Range is not an anxiety issue for me. I just sped back here. I was like, I got to tell David this immediately. So glad to be back. It was a wonderful, wonderful experience. Just night and day, I think, in terms of just drivability. Some of the quiet. You heard how quiet, or I guess you don't hear.
Yeah,
you do hear how quiet it is, but you don't hear.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? One of the cool things is, and I think I noted in there is that that you hear the traffic.
Yes.
Going by you.
Yes.
As opposed to
more so than the truck itself.
Yeah, you don't hear you. You hear all the traffic.
Yeah.
You hear those engines. So it's definitely a different experience. Very comfortable. Yeah, very cool. Very cool. Big shout out to Ashley Merkin, the product marketing manager at Volvo Trucks that took me for a ride. We always have a blast. I appreciate it. Great info there.
Let me ask you a question about that quietness while we're on that topic. Do you anticipate that could be a problem? It's too quiet? Do you think the drivers are going to go out of their mind and with their own thoughts and they have nothing else to you know those quiet rooms where you go in there and you can hear your own heart beating? I don't think it's quite that bad, but
yeah, it's not sensory deprivation. I'm not floating in like a dark tank.
What if you don't realize that the truck's still running because you can't hear it? Is that going to be an issue here?
No. Well, so first of all, I think kind of as you saw there, I think one of the disarming parts of it is that as you kind of noted, the initial is it on? Because it's on. So you just have to be, I guess, keenly aware.
And you had that little green truck in there to help.
Exactly. You got to be keenly aware that it's on because you don't want to accidentally put it in gear, And coming, sure. And again, noting that it's a transition, a very nice one to drive the electric trucks. It's so enjoyable, but I don't think it's too quiet. The something you do mention that is one of the standout things here that I've realized now, because I drove that truck on a test course when they launched it in February 2020 at their lights, just before the pandemic, at their Lights Project event.
Okay.
So I got to drive it, but since then I've been in a number of other truck brands of electric trucks, and you start to see how the difference is. Of them, right? So, the VNR is really quiet. It's nice. I don't think it's too quiet. And all the manufacturers are putting out really great trucks. I mean, really, they're just all the new. They take the tried and true cabs and construction and put it there. But you will drivers that are keenly aware of maybe some of of the operation might hear new noises. That maybe even we don't hear, but just you notice certain things because the engine doesn't cover up any of the other noises. So if you have change in the cup holder, you're going to hear it rattling the whole time, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to hear those. If you got something loose in this, in the back, or you got something just not, kind of like in your car, but even then, it's louder.
Sure.
Louder on the car. You're going to notice it. So it's even just important in terms of trying out all the different manufacturers and finding the cab environment that's right for you, because you're going to notice different levels of sound for sure.
Absolutely. Very interesting. So let me ask you this question. This model that you were riding along in and you had experience to drive back in 2020, approximately 150 miles of range on a charge. Is that correct?
Yeah, give or take. I mean, again, depending on application, depending where you're running it.
Sure,
right?
sure.
Now,
depending on weather, depending on who knows what else.
Manufacturers are also very conservative on those numbers because they don't want to. They're setting expectations, right?
Sure.
So yeah, this one's at about 150-ish.
And the next generation, we're talking 270, 275, something like that?
Yeah, so that's the other part of the conversation I had when I was at Volvo is recently they announced their next generation VNR electric, which increased the operational range by 85%. So we're up in the 250, 270 range, and decreased the charging time. So they're charging faster, right? And it's interesting. It feels, I hate to say the cliche that the truck is a rolling smartphone because, geez, that is tired. I mean, we've been hearing that forever. But now what's interesting, now take that and say, okay, well, now I got the VNR Electric 2.
Right?
Right? This one goes 270, 250, 270. I want 2. I'm going to have the 1. So,
exactly.
That was a topic of conversation. I'm going to have a big interview with Peter Verhoeven, their president, who talks about the manufacturer, you got to start somewhere. Next, a year and a half from now, I don't know anything. Again, it's Jason Morgan speculation. Technology will probably advance and it'll probably be even better and better and better and better. But you got to start somewhere. The first generation 150 mile range was and is still great for specific applications. The drayage, the regional haul, the one where you don't really need the range.
Sure.
And that is still true. The new next gen VNR electric, it can go a little further. But even talking with Volvo's team, applications are still within the same regional haul world. It just might give either maybe those fleets where the application they wanted a little more range buffer just to make sure it really addresses range anxiety. It's still kind of similar applications. Makes you sleep a little better at night that you have that little bit of extra range, and maybe opens up a little some further applications as well. But it's just cool to see, one, the next step, and two, how quickly they could iterate on that base, right? Because and they do it in two ways. There's more batteries on that truck, but the density of them is also better. So it's an example of, we always hear, well, battery technology will get better. Okay, well, here's a good example. Yes, there's more of them on there, but it goes hand in hand with the density is also better on them.
So maybe you can explain this. In the year and a half that it took to produce the next gen vehicle, can we expect that same level of battery evolution, battery growth every year and a half from now until the end of time?
Yeah, in talking with Volvo's team, one thing I do want to make clear is, to us it seemed like a year, but to them they've been working on it long.
That's what
I mean?
Good
the
point.
iteration, like there's the tail of this is much longer than we see on the product announcement side. To us it feels very quick. Like we're like, holy smokes, we're here, that was a one small step to giant leap kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But what you pose an interesting question. I mean, you look at the diesel side of things, and fuel efficiency continues to gain 2, 3, up to 5% model year over model year of fuel efficiency. This is a new technology. So again, my speculation, it's going to increase a lot faster than a mature technology in diesel is going to increase now. Now, there's still plenty to be gained from diesel fuel efficiency and still a role for diesel trucks in decarbonization. But I believe this, again, just from everything that I've seen and witnessed and talking about, things are going to start to pick up really pretty quick. Again, that the challenges still remain for like a 500 range long haul, because then we're getting into the infrastructure conversation, not really the equipment. And frankly, the equipment's been ahead of the game anyway.
You talk about regen braking in the video that we saw there and how it feels different and how you kind of have to get used to it. Can you explain to us a little bit what does that feel like?
Yeah, it feels a little bit more like a little bit more powerful engine brake. So for trucks up in the engine brake, the levels are a little can be a little more intense. So like when I've gotten the opportunity to drive an electric truck, I'm always a car's length back from where I wanted to be.
Yeah.
But I will say what's interesting now is, and again, going back to being able to drive and experience a lot of the different manufacturers, they're just subtle nuances that are, I mean, it's not either bad or good, it's just different that you have to be aware of. For example, in the Volvo, the regen braking, you take your foot off the pedal, the regen braking will bring you to a stop. In some other trucks that I've been in, the regen braking will bring you down to a crawl, like a 2 mile per hour thing. And it's just that little different. You know what I mean? So you gotta, again, the driver's aware, they're alert. They have to know that, I gotta touch the service brake. Whereas on the Volvo, the VNR electric, it'll bring you down to a complete stop. So, and again, what's cool is starting to see those little operational nuances across the nameplates has been really interesting.
So for our audience who aren't Jason Morgan and haven't had the experience of driving both an electric semi and an electric car, what's the difference there? Does it feel any different?
Well, I think what's interesting on the truck, I guess I won't equate it to a car, but let me equate it to a truck with an AMT, which a lot of, at least on the commercial side, it's the majority of the on-highway build now.
Sure.
I never had to, and I couldn't, full disclosure, drive a full manual truck.
Sure.
It's not going to happen. It's not manual. It's not going to work. I jump in that.
It's harder than it seems.
Oh, I mean, that drivers are really doing a really difficult job, and that's why
Do not get
AMTs are
enough
nice.
credit.
It gives some of that, takes out some of the fatigue. But when AMTs were really coming up and starting to see a lot of adoption, you didn't feel the load as much. Like you just kind of went. I mean, you still knew it was back there. Electric trucks with the amount of torque that's available at any time is like all of us. It's a lot like driving a sports car. You're up at 60 real quick, and you did not know you look down and you go, oh wow, okay, I'm at 60. You don't feel it. You don't feel the load.
Sure.
As you're going down there, so it's like just a more advanced kind of feeling as the AMTs. I think the AMTs brought us a long way in drivability and comfort. And now this is, again, kind of hand in hand with the quietness, but you have to be aware of your speed because I feel like you can get up to speed very, very quickly.
Yeah. AMT, you're referring to the transmission.
Yes, sorry for those not in the commercial world. I do tend to slip in the acronyms very quickly. Automated manual transmissions. So in the heavy truck world, we also have automatic transmissions, but a bulk of the on-highway Class 8 take are these automated manual transmissions where it's still, gosh, they've gotten so advanced now, but it's a manual transmission at heart, but it operates much like, from a driver point of view, you can kind of feel the automatic.
Sure.
So it's an automated manual.
So one last question for you. When you were learning about the next generation of this Volvo VNR, were there any features that you learned about that you can share with us? Is there anything really cool about this? When you're talking about iPhone 10 to iPhone 11, what is the big features that they're trying to sell you on?
Yeah, so it's a good question. I think really quickly, though, one of the things to point out would be the powertrain technology and battery technology is new. The cab is not. And this already happens in the commercial world where they'll upgrade transmissions and engines and then every so often upgrade the cab. So I feel like it was, maybe 4 years ago or so now that a lot of the manufacturers were launching their new trucks, right? Like their new cabs and how they're designed. So when they release a next gen VNR electric, that you see it in the powertrain. It's still the tried and true established VNR truck that you're getting in and out of the cab that you are interfacing with. It's all VNR. So you see it more on that powertrain side, and that's where you're going to see a lot of that. So as far as feature goes, it's really showing up in the range. It's really showing up in the reduced charging time that it takes to get you to that battery capacity. Stepping into the truck, you're going to feel like you did when you stepped into a VNR. Got it. Even a diesel one.
Sure.
Except for the operational differences, of course.
Okay. Well, Jason, I'm glad you had the opportunity. Thanks for sharing the details with us. Bring me next time.
Yeah, no, you'll get the next trip for sure.
I can't wait.
Very cool.
Well, thanks a lot. Thank you all. And we'll see you next time.